Welcome to Season 3 of Candid Leadership. Throughout this season, I'm taking recommendations from listeners to speak with leaders and mentors of inspiration. Today's guest was a recommendation by a listener who served in Afghanistan. And this person recommended the nonprofit No One Left Behind. One of the board members of No One Left Behind is Mariah Smith. A fearless leader in her own right, Mariah continues to demonstrate commitment to the mission after transitioning from the military with over 20 years of experience as a military police officer and legislative liaison. She served in Afghanistan, Iraq, Kuwait, and the Horn of Africa. While in the service, she was a congressional fellow in the House of Representatives for an Appropriations Committee member. She has a master's degree in security management and is a graduate of the FBI's National Academy Session 256 and serves as a team member on the Council of Foreign Relations. Mariah, it is great to have you on Candid Leadership. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I'm really excited to talk to you today.
I definitely want to dive into the focus of this episode is really to start off and talk about your nonprofit work with the group No One Left Behind. And if you could, please tell us about the organization and what it does and your role as a board member.
No One Left Behind was founded several years ago when Janice Shinwari, who was a combat translator in Afghanistan, came over to the U.S. on the Special Immigrant Visa Program. And the soldiers that he had served with raised $35,000 through a GoFundMe to help Janice when he arrived to the U.S. And instead of taking that money for himself and his family, he wanted to start No One Left Behind because there was no existing organization that specifically helped Afghan and Iraqi translators who served with the U.S. military and then came to the United States on the Special Immigrant Visa Program. And for years, even prior to the end of our involvement in Afghanistan, No One Left Behind's mission has been to advocate for the importance of the Special Immigrant Visa Program and to streamline and improve the process, and then to help Afghan and Iraqi translators when they do arrive to the U.S. with direct financial support that supplements the resettlement benefits they receive as new immigrants.
And so that is a great breakdown of the organization and how it started. How do you see in the next couple of years this organization going forward? Because you've seen the waxes and waning of involvement with respect to governance and policy in Iraq. How do you see this with respect to Afghanistan now?
So since the announced withdrawal from Afghanistan and then the subsequent actual withdrawal, we have grown and our mission has grown by an exponential factor. Now that there are tens of thousands of Afghan allies in U.S. processing centers and thousands of more that still need to evacuate from Afghanistan because they're in danger given their involvement with the U.S. We, for example, last year we helped 600 families, 600 special immigrant visa families. And this year we're expecting to help over the course of the coming years, thousands and thousands more. There's thousands of SIV recipients that still need to leave Afghanistan, and there's others that have newly arrived here in the U.S. just in the past 2 months.
And seeing, especially we're in the National Capital Region right now, but seeing kind of their resettlement all across the country, there are so many people that want to do something. What are those steps that they can take, whether it's financial donation to the organization which you're serving with, or whether it's just lending a hand? How best can people reach out and help?
So there's a lot of opportunities in the Northern Virginia region. We tend to find that Afghan SIV and Iraqi SIV recipients congregate in a few key areas in the United States: California, Washington State, Texas, and of course, the Northern Virginia area tends to be one of the largest populations of SIV holders. People can be involved. You can always go to our website for more information. We are nooneleft.org. If you choose to make a financial donation, that opportunity is there. Or you can look at opportunities to donate household good items. A number of resettlement agencies, not just No One Left Behind, are accepting donations of household goods, clothing, ways to support these folks because many of them left with just absolutely nothing or one or two small bags that they were able to evacuate with. Another key area where people can help is by providing jobs and job assistance. We've seen a number of folks donate mentorship efforts, helping with resume writing or finding employment, those types of things. Another good resource to use is the welcome.us website. And this is the larger resettlement effort website that provides a number of ways where people can choose to look at volunteer opportunities, donation opportunities, and to understand ways that they can assist.
That's tremendous. And I think the work that you're doing to assist in this effort is just, again, I can't hearken it enough how awesome it is that we're kind of gathering together to make sure that those who have helped U.S. service members continue to receive help. I do want to twist a little bit and kind of talk about some of your previous writing, especially as you are a transitioned service member and some of the work that you've done, you've written and put out there in the world. I really appreciate both you understanding and sharing some of the transferable skills for military members and growing into different areas with respect to employment. You just spoke about it with those who are coming over from Afghanistan, but also those transitioning service members who are amidst a change in their lives. Last couple of years, you wrote for Recruit Military, and you looked at industries and occupations to consider. And I really think transitioning military members often kind of box themselves in a corner, and they consider only government jobs. Yet only 22% of veterans work in federal, state, or local government. When we look out and we see more than 11% falling into professional and business service industries, whether it's financial, legal, consulting, or marketing, there's also another 11% that work in manufacturing. And so preparing for those other roles outside of government often requires skills or certifications or even advanced education. How do you recommend veterans take advantage of those benefits?
So I am now just 1 year post-transition myself. My retirement date was the 1st of September, 2020. I retired during COVID, so it was a little bit interesting going through the Soldier for Life Transition Assistance Program during the era of COVID when everyone was newly transitioning to the virtual meeting idea. It's been excellent. There are some fantastic resources out there, and here are the ones that I used. One, I took great advantage of the programs, whatever your service is. For me, it happened to be Soldier for Life because I'm retired Army, but all the different branches of services have some type of transition assistance program. Make sure you attend it well in advance of your actual separation from the military to take advantage of not just the services program itself, but all the different programs that they then educate you about that may be offered by Chamber of Commerce or some of the veteran service organizations that are also focused on helping you prepare for life after the service. You're right that many people tend to gravitate towards government jobs because, well, they're excellent positions with excellent benefits, but it's also a security aspect. Like, this is what we know. It can be frightening, particularly in your first foray out of the military, to choose something that's so vastly different from what you've been involved with for the past decade or 2 decades. And what I found from my own personal experience is that I did take a defense contractor job as my first position. I had a wonderful experience. I'd continued to work with many people that I had known from within the Army, and I was doing almost the exact same thing that I had done while I was in the service. And then I realized that I was ready to branch out and try a new industry. For me, I found a position as Director of Government Affairs for Accrete AI Government. So joining an artificial intelligence company, a technology company. I do not have a technology background. It was like a foreign language. It was converting to private industry. You lose access, you lose your CAC card, you lose your government email account. And it felt like a big step. I found that in order to prepare for it, my network was incredibly important. I had, for several years, as I knew I was going to retire and as I prepared for retirement, made sure I attended all kinds of networking, veterans networking, industry networking events in order to try and grow my circle of smart and successful people that I was exposed to. My network is what helped me find my current position. So I encourage everyone, take advantage. There's a lot of virtual opportunities now as well. Grow your network and talk to people in industries that you're interested in.
And I really love the fact that you mentioned not necessarily having that tech background, but still being included in the ability to work in that area. And I cannot pound the table hard enough. I have heard some great statistics over the past, actually a couple of days, that there is a 0% unemployment rate in certain areas in cybersecurity. And we're recording this in October, which is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So I have to do a little hat tip to that. But understanding that this field, especially the one that you're in, Mariah, looking at AI, there is a 41% growth in the technical field, especially in these different areas. And so many people are self-limiting. And I love the fact that your network was one thing that spurred you to move into this area. And what did people in your network encourage you to do when they talk to you about jobs like this?
What people in my network did to help me encourage not just the particular field that I ended up in, but all types of new fields is people are incredibly generous with their time and their knowledge. And I found that everywhere I turned, as I was getting ready to leave the military and recently, like when I was, in my first year of transition, people are very compassionate and just willing to speak to you and share their knowledge. So I explored a lot of different industries. And I mean, it's just a matter of linking up with folks for coffee or taking time. I think Candace and I actually met on a Zoom call about a year ago. A mutual friend connected us for the same thing, to expand our network and to talk about the different areas that we're interested in and how we can educate each other on these things. And over time, having these conversations and these connections, I realized that I could step into a field where I didn't have as much of an educational background or experience. It was my larger leadership experiences and management experiences that would help me excel in a new field.
That's a wonderful point and totally spot on to the next area I wanted to pivot to, which really talked about those transferable skills. So many military members have opportunities to grow in fields, whether it's public health, cybersecurity, occupational health, just some that require technical acumen that oftentimes mentally service members prevent themselves from going into. But the combination of skills such as loyalty, adaptability, staying calm under pressure, and understanding situational awareness, those are the things that military members arrive into a new field just pre-wired and ready to go. How do you see those transferable skills working to military members as an advantage when they're walking into a new field?
I think military members underestimate what an important advantage those are. Those are the skills that you just highlighted that military members are going to be hired for, because trade and technical skills can be taught, but it takes time and maturity to develop the skills of organizational ability, loyalty, true dedication to effort, integrity. Those things, are intrinsic in us as military members, and they're reinforced by the culture that we're a part of for so many years. And I believe that's what employers see as the immense value that military members bring to the table. The other things, they can be taken care of through certification programs, like in-house education programs, mentorship, all that stuff. But you come to the table with a huge skill set and don't underestimate it.
All right, you heard it here. There are things that you're learning, whether you're in the intelligence community, working somewhere in national security, or especially the military. Those things that you see and do every single day really matter. Mariah, are there any other areas that you would like to talk to for the audience, whether it's on leadership or mentoring?
Certainly. I think while the transitioning service member might themselves be being mentored or looking for mentorship, it's also very important to look for opportunities where you can then turn around and mentor others, or where you can continue to be of service to others. I know many of us feel that when you leave the uniformed service, you might be losing a sense of purpose or a sense of community. And that doesn't have to be the case. You can build a new community in the field that you're going into, or you can continue to find that real sense of purpose towards serving, towards mentoring other younger members that are either still in the military or are transitioning out early as well, or within your community. That's what led me to be involved with To No One Left Behind. I knew I had submitted my retirement paperwork. I was thinking about what life after the military was going to be like. And I knew I wanted to stay involved in the national security community somehow, but I wasn't sure what that would look like. And because I had done 3 tours in Afghanistan, Afghanistan was very important to me and the fate of the Afghan people. So I found a chance to volunteer for a board of directors position for No One Left Behind, because that was my way to stay connected and to continue providing selfless service.
That's fascinating. And finding something that kind of helps you stay grounded is incredibly important, because so much of the work that service members do is selfless. It's hard to really take that step forward and think, okay, now I'm fighting for every dollar, or I'm only doing this for some kind of financial gain or pat on the back. But really, there's a willingness to give back. And I find it fascinating that you chose this organization, which absolutely kept you busy over the past couple of months and will continue in the forthcoming years to see the work that you've done grow and help so many different families. Mariah, when we were talking about the nonprofit group that you work with, I mentioned it already a couple of times, but I want to dive into that area of what it means to sit on a board. Could you describe the work that you've done, how the board structures itself, and then how you contribute?
Certainly. Thank you. Joining the nonprofit community was definitely a steep learning curve, because even though it's a very service-oriented community, it's still very different from the military. Our board is composed of 10 members. We are all volunteers, and we do have a couple elected positions. I'm vice chairman. We have a chairman. We have a treasurer. We have a secretary, but every board member's vote is equal. And everything we do, all of our governance, we have bylaws, we're an established 501c3, is done by consensus. And so the board, all 10 of us are involved in the day-to-day decision-making and the decisions that are carried out. And so it's different from a military chain of command, where one person who's ultimately responsible, who has like the yes-no authority. This is a much more collaborative effort. Everything has to be discussed. Every decision for financial governance, expenditures, policy. It's a lot of work. I've really enjoyed it. I love my fellow board members, but it's a different environment than the military. And our board is a mix of military and veterans.
What I think is fascinating about the points you just made is really coming to both collaboration and consensus. And the hierarchical nature of the military and where it sits, when you transition, sometimes you have to see things from a different angle. And it also opens up a way of understanding that collaboration is incredibly important, and having a diverse array of people with respect to experiences and really the lives that they've lived probably makes for a stronger board. What that involves, though, is to bring people on and into those rooms involves a tremendous amount of mentorship. And I'm sure some of the opportunities that you've had, and you're definitely seeing post-transition, your first year out of uniform, the need for mentorship, both receiving mentorship yourself and then mentoring those around you. How do you consider this as a part of what you do as a leader?
I think it's a responsibility that never leaves us. Even though I'm out of the military now, I continue to look for ways where I can offer either my experiences or access to my network to other folks that may not be quite as far along the path as I am now. It's incredibly meaningful and enjoyable to me to be able to do this. It makes me feel useful. I meet wonderful people. My own network continues to grow. So I think it's an important task that we should never stop both mentoring and receiving mentorship.
Well, Mariah, I want to end on that. The receipt of mentorship that you've just provided to the listeners today has been invaluable. Thank you so much for all the work that you've done, for continuing to grow our strong partnership with those people who have helped our country, especially in a time of need. Thanks for continuing to mentor those around you, and best of luck as you are hard charging into the AI world and seeing what's next for the governance and the ability for this tech world to grow and prosper.
It was wonderful to talk to you today, and thanks so much for having me on.
I really appreciate you listening to this conversation with Mariah Smith. And if you want more candid perspectives on leadership, go to colonelcandid.com. I encourage you to sign up for the newsletter, where you'll receive the latest Candid Leadership episode notifications, writings, and links to other great leadership and mentorship content. As we mentioned in the beginning, I'm always up for recommended guests. Season 3 is full of great leaders and mentors recommended by you, the listener. I would also encourage that you share this podcast with your friends, colleagues, and whoever you think could benefit from the information and wisdom shared by my amazing guests. I know I grow with every conversation, and I want to share that experience with as many leaders as we can. This show grows by word of mouth, so be sure to share this podcast, and please, if you think I've earned it, leave Candid Leadership a 5-star review wherever you find yourself listening to this podcast. Thanks again for joining me. All views expressed are my own. I'm Colonel Candace Frost.